Welcome to Summer Ball Talk with your hosts Joe Compton and Isaac Deere. Today we are joined by Chuck Chaney of the Butler County Times-Gazette. Chuck, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm a little under the weather, but overall, I'm doing pretty well. Excited for summer baseball come kicking around, and it's full force here in Butler County.
It's good to hear you're doing well, Chuck. Now, we brought Chuck on to talk about the Kansas Collegiate Baseball League. Isaac, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned a little earlier, Joe, or Chuck, that you're with Butler County. So I'm assuming that you cover mostly the El Dorado Walnuts in the Kansas Collegiate League. What can you tell us about the Walnuts this year, and how are they looking kind of a couple weeks into this season?
Well, first and foremost, if anybody in El Dorado heard you call them El Dorado, they'd run you out of town, my friend.
That's okay. I am far away from El Dorado, but that's all right. I don't think I'll be running into anybody from.
No, you're good. You're good. El Dorado's a new team. They came in this season as an expansion team in the KCLB because the El Dorado Broncos, who played in the Sunflower, folded up shop last year after one game. And I think Sheldon Howell of the KCLB, we sat down at the beginning of the year, and he just saw an opening for a historic stadium that he thought was needed to be used, and the town knew it was going to get used. They had a lot of opportunities. So they came up with the Walnuts, and they've done all right. They've won some games they're not supposed to, and then they won some games they're supposed to, and they're about where a lot of people around the league, from my understanding, expect them to be. They're like a middle of the pack team right now. Literally, look at out of the 10 teams, they're sitting 6. So like they're right in the middle. They're 4-4. They scored a lot of runs. There was a stretch of games where they scored 26. Was it 26, 11, and 15? So they know how to put up some runs. Wow. But it's fun to kind of watching this team kind of grow in their own personality, because you know how every team kind of has their own personality. Like we know Chaney's going to big bat you around because they're known. Hayes has always good pitching. Liberal's always well rounded, and they like the Kansas Cannons they don't mind small balling you to death. But the Cannons are kind of developing a big bat, being really aggressive on the bases. They don't mind getting gunned down at third or picked off at second, going for a second base. They're an aggressive team, and that's why they've been able to put up these runs. But in the same sense, they're trying to develop that pitching. They've also given up 10, 12, 14, 18, and so they're figuring it out for the Cannons. I mean, the Walnuts. It's kind of fun to watch, and I don't know if you've ever watched a game in McDonald. It was built in like the 1930s, and it's housed some amazing talent. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, back in the day, and just the legacy of baseball in El Dorado, Kansas is pretty up there on par, I'd say, with most cities in the country.
Sweet. Yeah, and I think I might have stumped you on that El Dorado statement earlier, but El Dorado.
No. I just give you a hard time because I hear that all the time. Because, I mean, you look at it, that's what it is. It's El Dorado, California, El Dorado, Arkansas, and the old legend of the hunt for El Dorado, the gold of El Dorado or whatever. So I get it. I mean, but that's Kansas for you, right? You have our Kansas City, you have El Dorado, and I'm from Oklahoma, where we have Miami, and we don't have Durant, we have Durant, and so there's a lot of it's just local pronunciations. That's all it is.
And I mean, we could get to the McPherson discussion all day.
I totally forgot about that one. See, I always saw it, even just coming from out of state, as McPherson. I didn't get the McPherson. It was McPherson for me. I thought that one's pronounced right.
Yeah, but kind of get back. I got us off topic there, but kind of bringing us back a little bit.
That's what I do best.
Well, how do you think the community so far? I know new teams, especially new collegiate summer teams, kind of you have to wait a little bit until people understand. The message is it takes a while to get people to the ballpark, especially with a new team in a smaller town like El Dorado. How do you think the community has embraced the Walnuts so far? I know we're just a couple weeks in, but how well do you think it's been reciprocated to Butler County?
No, off topic here. When people call El Dorado a small town, have people driven in El Dorado? It's a rather large town. I mean, they're a 4A school. They're top. I mean, it's one of the top 60 largest schools in the state. I mean, I don't know. I hear that, and I'm not saying just you. I hear it all the time. People are like, "Oh, it's a small town." I'm like, "Well, I think every town in Kansas is a small town, outside of like Topeka, Wichita, Salina, Hutch." But El Dorado, I don't consider too much of a small town. But no, they're into it. So the thing, people of El Dorado, the way they were kind of spurred about the Broncos, it's caused a little resistance. But people are excited. They like the name's goofy. They think it's better than the Wind Surge. There were other names the Zebra Mussels was another name that people that was up there. The Waves, the Cluckers, which we can tell you why. You can automatically guess why that wasn't a name. But yeah, people have kind of just enjoyed it, and I think what Shelton and the KCLB's done right away is they've integrated it early. They started advertising back in October. They were getting host families early, and that's the thing the Broncos did. They started getting host families in April and May, and right before the season started, when people are already getting their summer plans together. You can't do that. And when COVID came around, and a lot of like Andale canceled, but the Sunflower played, and the Broncos told people it was because of COVID they weren't going to play. It was really they didn't have host families, and a couple of those host families had COVID, but in the real run, it was just the fact that they didn't have host families, and they didn't want to put these kids up, and they were paying for these kids to be in hotels, and it was expensive. And a lot of these teams run in the red just because they're nonprofits and they're not making money, and so they were bleeding putting these kids in hotels, and so they folded up shop. And people around town goes, if you're closing up because of COVID, we're not going to be there to support you. And sure enough, in 2021, that's exactly what happened. And the thing about people from Butler County I've learned is I've heard people call them rednecks. They're not rednecks. I think they're just people that want you to be honest with them. And if you're giving them the runaround, blaming other stuff, just own up to it. Be like, hey, we don't have the housing. We don't have the money. People would respect that a lot more than blaming something else. And that's what the Walnuts have done. They've been transparent about everything, whether it's money, whether it's this, and they've fulfilled a lot of promises that the Broncos did. The Broncos said they were going to have alcohol for beers. I mean, a nice beer in a summer baseball game and a hot dog. That's America right there, and that's not something the Broncos would ever do. And they said they were going to pair with the local brewery, and they never did. And that's the first thing the Walnuts have done. And the Walnut River Brewery's there, and you get a hot dog, have a beer, watch a good baseball game, and it helps that they have a rivalry that's just about 15 minutes away. But yeah, they're slowly but surely getting there. The game I went to, a couple hundred people there. It's pretty solid, and when they're expecting a rather large crowd next week at 4th of July.
There's not much I like. There's not the Warbeard Irish Red from Walnut River is one of my favorite beers. I love high IPA.
Warbeard is amazing, man.
Oh, I know Warbeard's a great beer. I also like the they have a coffee porter. I don't know if they have it in stock anymore, but the High Beam IPA, Warbeard, and coffee porter from Walnut River. Oh, it's super good. I love it. But yeah, and also just in terms of talent in the Kansas Collegiate League, I know you were on vacation a little bit ago, but you've seen some action here and there through there. But is the talent pretty good this year in the Kansas Collegiate League? Because I know there's some guys, in the first two teams, like the Kansas Curve, who's in first place, and the Cannons. The Curve's got Liam Pollock, Riley Hood, Jake Sherrard that are really good, and then in the Cannons, Rocco Gump, Christian Garnett, Zach Davis, Cole Seward, just to name a few. But do you think the talent in the Kansas Collegiate League is up to par this year?
I mean, last year I thought they were a really good team, and they showed it by winning that silly Sun Ball Showdown or Summer Bowl Showdown at Goddard last year, which was an easy $20K for Augusta. Yeah, no, I think the Cannons got a really, really good team. I think, though, if you look from top to bottom, it may not be. I think we're seeing a transition from where you're seeing just a team loaded with Division One talent. The KCLB and maybe the Sunflowers as well. You're not going to see those teams anymore. It's just not how this league is going to operate. Kids nowadays, they don't want to stay in host families if they don't have to, and we're seeing it across the board. And you look at like the Walnuts, they have a lot of local kids, like from Andover, Wichita, so they don't have to host them. And then the Walnuts, the Cannons are lucky. They have a really nice plethora of families that have supported for a while, so they're in. They don't have that problem, but I'm seeing it across the board. You look at Wellington, you look at McPherson, you look at Park City, the Dirtbags, the Moose. I mean, I don't know if the KCLB is as strong as it's been, but I think the Cannons are figuring that out. The way they went up to Hayes last night and picked up a 7-6 decision on the road. I mean, that's a quality dub right there.
Well, perfect, Chuck. I mean, if Joe doesn't have anything to add, I don't know if you do, Joe, or not, but thank you, Chuck, again for coming on. I really do appreciate it, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Oh yeah, no problem. Anytime you guys need anybody, I'm here, and I'm learning to love baseball again. I used to dread covering baseball, but this last year I've kind of found a new passion for it. It's been fun. I'm also lucky that in my time in Butler County, I've covered some real winners. Augusta going to state, Andover Central going to state state finals, El Dorado making their first appearance, and now I got the Cannons, who they think they got a good shot at the NBC World Series this year. So
awesome. Well, guys, make sure to follow Chuck Chaney at Chuck Chaney BCTG. That's for Butler County Times Gazette. But make sure to give him a follow, and we hope to have you on again soon, Chuck. Thank you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Chuck, once again for coming on. Really appreciate having you. We're now going to move to the Mid-Plains League, which, Isaac, I think we can first kind of start from the bottom and go back up.
Yeah.
Topeka Farmers, new team. Tell us what you think so far.
So if we're gonna start off with Topeka Farmers, the Farmers are very, very athletic. It's a very athletic group of kids, and it's one of the two international teams in the Mid-Plains League, the Farmers and the Bravos. The Farmers have struggled, just trying to find the strike zone, and the offense hasn't quite come together yet. But with all those athletic kids, they're still trying to build a chemistry and try to build some team cohesion. But the Farmers have kind of struggled a little bit to start off the year, and that's kind of the same with the Sabetha Bravos. But the Sabetha Bravos have had an easy way of putting up runs this year. They got so many talented kids on their in their lineup. Jose Fernandez is second in the league in hits. He has 18 so far in this really young season. They also Ramel Perez, Jesus Espinosa, Rinosuke Nasaka, just to name a few. They are absolutely loaded with talent. The record not so great at 3-12. That definitely needs work. But the Sabetha Bravos and Topeka Farmers are kind of in the same situation right now. Where the runs they're usually not on the winning side in runs, and they've had a pretty rough time finding the strike zone this year, and it's been a lot of ball fours and a lot of wild pitches. But the playoffs aren't here today. They're not here tomorrow. It's going to be till the end of July, so they have plenty of time to pick it up. But that just takes time. That chemistry takes time, and if you have that kind of group of athletic kids, it's going to take a minute, but they look pretty good. New coaches, new teammates, no familiar faces whatsoever. So that's just kind of my observation. I don't like looping them together, but they are at the bottom of the league and with almost the same record. But and it's almost the same problem because Sabetha and the Farmers, first-year member of the Mid-Plains League, a first-year team, they've never played with each other, and Sabetha Bravos do not have a single returner from the last 3 or 4 years, where you've seen a lot of returners come back from the DR, from Venezuela or Puerto Rico, but this year it's not a single returner. So that's kind of been an issue. But again, I think that'll definitely be taken care of down the road with good leadership. Then they do have good leadership, but yep, that's my observations with those two teams.
Yeah, and I believe the same thing. Great team, a lot of talent, just maybe not incredibly cohesive at the moment, but a lot of potential. And really, even if these teams end up 5th, 6th, the bottom of the standings, they could easily make a playoff run. We're going to jump next to the Lawrence Travelers. Another team where a decent amount of talent, and they were towards the bottom of the standings last year, but they've picked up some wins to start the year, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that, Isaac.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sitting at 500 right now with a 7-7 record. The Lawrence Travelers are definitely a lot better than they were last year. Last year was their first year as a member of the Mid-Plains League. It seems like they had the talent last year, but this year it just seems like it's all kind of put together. Just to name a few players, like Nick Sizemore, he's at the cover off the ball this year. I think he is, I don't have it off the top of my head, but he is, I think, in the top 2 or top 3 in triples. And then they have Ethan Walker, who's a speed demon, but he's not just a speed demon. He gets on base a lot. He also scores he's a part of the runs scored category more often than not. So I think that with the Lawrence Travelers, it's like there's definitely improvement. Sitting at 500 is also a very good thing. And as a team, they're about middle of the pack, with the 500 record. Hitting, they're about middle of the league in about every category in terms of hitting. Pitching, they are pretty much middle of the pack and everything. But they have a really good group of rotational guys. Their leader, or they have a couple guys in the rotation that are really good. Chase Torkelson, he's a stud. Southpaw, can find the zone. He's got really nasty stuff. And then Carson Rosen, who's a first-year member, a part of this league. He is just graduated from Washburn Rural High School in Topeka, so not a far drive to Lecompton there. But yeah, the Travelers, good team, middle of the road right now, but plenty of time to improve, kind of with the Farmers and the Bravos. But we've seen the Travelers get big wins this year. They beat a very good Midwest A's team last night in a 7-4 victory, and maybe that'll kick them off some momentum a little bit, and they can build on that going forward.
Yeah, I think another thing, it might sound like a broken record, and we might literally say it for any team, but everybody in this league makes the playoffs, and it literally could be anybody's game coming down to it. We're now going to move to a team that they started off hot. They've had a few losses, but they're still a pretty decent team, Midwest A's.
Yep, and the Midwest A's they did start off hot. They got that opening season win against the Sabetha Bravos, and the Midwest A's have had their share of wins and losses this year. They took a rough loss to the Blues back on June 7th, but they have some dudes in their lineup. We could start off with Ben Click. Ben Click is a catcher for the Midwest A's. He leads the league in batting average. He leads the league in hits, doubles. He's second in the league in RBIs. He's second in the league in OPS. He's third in the league in runs and quality at-bats, and he's second in slugging. Anyway, I can go on and on about the performances that Ben Click has been putting up this year. It's been absolutely incredible. Ben Click is on a MVP type pace right now. The Mid Plains League Player of the Year. He is on that pace right now, and it's so far he's through 3 weeks of the season. Ben Click's been the MVP of the league. There's a lot of guys that are really, really close from Junction City that we'll get to later. But Ben Click's been good. Aiden Blackowitz, he's been good for Midwest. And Kurt Golubski's always going to be there. And they've had some good pitching. Zach Pratt, one of their pitchers who's the 2-time Connor Taylor Pitcher of the Year award winner. He's looked fantastic. Alex Slocum has looked fantastic. Jeremy Husband has looked great. A very well and complete team. There's definitely some improvement to be made, but they are very, very complete. 1 through 9 in the rotation and the bullpen. Good solid team so far, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen from them so far.
Yeah, I would agree as well. And we're gonna move on next to a team that is much improved, not even from last year to this year, but just overall in the franchise's history, and that's the Baldwin City Blues, who are currently sitting at 9-4.
Yeah, well, what do you think has been one of their biggest improvements from last year to this year? Then we can kind of get to the team point this year. But what do you think has been their biggest improvement from last year to this year?
I think, we talk about like Sabetha and Topeka, and just not having many guys play with each other. Baldwin City benefits from 2 things. They return a lot of the same guys, and some of their new guys play. A lot of them, restarting the sentence, a lot of them play at Baker University, that's located right there in Baldwin City, and the Blues are managed by Baker assistant coach Tanner Kilmer, and so having that cohesion and literally just an entire spring together really helps, because even guys like Hank Dobson, who played at Lawrence last year, or even Topeka the year before, he's right there at home when he comes to Baldwin City. And just, yeah. I think that's just generally been the number one thing, is just having that chemistry, that cohesion, and also adding Sejon Belser and Quinn Medden, who have been D1 players last season, have been great additions to the team, and just not only having that the returning guys and maybe that aren't going to light up a roster, and as good as they still are, but they're just not any big names. But I'm trying to think of the word. Just kind of like bolstering your lineup with a couple D1 guys really helps.
I think what Quinn Medden has been extremely impressive. The new outfielder for the Blues, he's been super impressive. But also, you mentioned another new guy, Sejon Belser. Let me put this into context for everybody. It takes him 6.32 seconds to run 60 yards. 60 yards, it takes him 6.32 seconds. That's the exact same time as Royals World Series winner Terrence Gore had when he was in college at Gulf Coast Community College. It took him 6.32. I'm going to keep saying that. That's absurd. Sejon Belser is one of the fastest players this league has ever seen. We're lucky this year in terms of like stolen bases. There's a lot of fast kids in this league. Sean Marcus, Ethan Walker, and Sejon Belser are top 3 in stolen bases, and they all just have, if we want to be from Boston, they got wicked speed, bro. They got wicked speed. They look so good, and Baldwin's improved quite a bit. We were talking a little off here, Joe, but the Achilles heel for last year for the Baldwin City Blues was the former Topeka Golden Giants, but they prevailed and defeated them in the playoffs last year, and I think that was a big stepping stone for them for what 2022 could bring. And they made it to the semis of last year's playoffs and lost to then champion Junction City Brigade. But the Baldwin City Blues, I mean, they look great this year. And, all those returners. Elliott Wilk and Tucker Flory and all these guys that are coming back. It just seems like they have good chemistry. And Logan Whelan, who's been there forever, they got just a good vibe in Baldwin. It seems like everybody is really respectful, and it just seems like that everybody has a good time playing baseball in Baldwin. You mentioned Tanner Kilmer, great leader. It runs down from the ownership to the coaches to the product on the field, and what Baldwin has going on is really special, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're clearly much improved on last year, and they look to just continue the run. They're on a, I believe, 4-game winning streak, and it can really only go up from here. We're next going to talk about the defending, seems like we can literally say this almost every year, the defending champion, the Junction City Brigade, who despite they took a couple losses to the Midwest A's, but they've looked almost unbeatable this year.
Yeah, the five-time Mid-Plains League Cowden Cup champions, Junction City Brigade. This league was established in 2013, and we'll be coming on year 10 of the Mid-Plains League next year, but it seems like the Junction City Brigade are kind of like the New York Yankees of this league from back in the day. It just seems like they're in that hunt all the time, and they always bring good talent every single year. And who could blame them? I mean, that ballpark atmosphere, the field, the coaching staff led by Brandon Bacher. I mean, that's just a great organization from ownership, from Cecil Oscar down. It is the ownership down to coaches is great. Sort of like Baldwin City, where you just know the chemistry is just there. But that works. But in terms of talent on the field, I mean, what do they not have? They have 1 through 9. Every player has made an impact in some way to get a win this year, which is rare. But guys 1 through 9, the guy sitting in the dugout that didn't play one day but played the next, everybody's made their own little impact in some way. You start off with the stolen bases leader, Sean Marcus. He's much improved from his time with the Golden Giants last year. Marcus, he's going to Newman University now, and he was at Barton County. He's been great. He's batting a .440, and he's got a 5 stolen base lead at first place with 13. He's been great. Garrett Goldbeck, with a minimum of 65 at bats, he's batting 500. So if that tells you anything, how Garrett Goldbeck's playing for the Junction City Brigade. And then they have a great power cleanup bat in Quentin Carlberg, who played for the Blues last year. You've seen the improvement from him, the home run leader, OPS leader. It seems like Junction City is basically first in every team category, offense and defense. Junction City Brigade are just so good, and they got some really good pitchers pitching for them, like Cade Perkins, the Flint Hills Player of the Year as a senior at Manhattan High School this year. Logan Rediger, former Golden Giant, he pitched incredible last night against the Sabetha Bravos. Really just owning the mound. He likes controlling the game with his pace, and he is the fastest paced pitcher I have ever seen in my entire life. And Junction City all has different characters. 1 through 9, they all have their set ways on how they play baseball, but their different ways of playing doesn't define them, as in they can't play together. They play so well together, and their chemistry is so good. And some of those guys have never played with them before, but the chemistry that they have is absurd. It's so good. They're first in every team category and almost every personal category for a reason. They just love playing for each other, and that's a really good thing to see, especially for a summer baseball team. They want to win. They don't want to just get better. They want to get better with their skills, but they want to win baseball games. That's who the Junction City Brigade is, and back then, and that's who they are now.
Yeah, it may sound like a broken record, but Junction City is once again the team to beat. We're going to take a quick break real quick, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Alaska Baseball League. And we are back from kind of an extended break. It's been about 3 weeks since we started recording the episode. Had a bunch of stuff happen in between. Want to say thank you again to Chuck for coming on. Today we have another couple guests. We have Charlie Martin and Luke Kilman, who are the multimedia intern and then the assistant GM for the Fremont Moo out of the Independence League. Charlie and Luke, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Not bad.
Can't complain here.
So, you guys are both from the Kansas City area. I just want to first ask, how'd you guys end up at the Moo?
So I'll go first. I actually was part of the Moo in 2020 during our COVID season, and I was working baseball operations, mostly brought down to run the FlightScope baseball analytics software, and then kind of got put into some different roles, some different responsibilities, and the owner really liked what I was doing, so he asked me to come back this year as assistant general manager. And I love the people, I love the environment, I love kind of that small town, baseball vibe. So that's just what brought me back this summer.
Yeah, so I needed an internship to graduate, and it's turned into much more than just a necessity to graduate. So I now understand why he fell in love with this kind of stuff, the summer league in Fremont, and so yeah, I just took the opportunity, showed up, not knowing what to expect at all, but it's been so much more than what I could ever imagined of.
And then, Isaac, you can go first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you said that you started in the 2020 season. I know in some summer leagues that they implemented a lot of different rule changes and a lot of experimental stuff to kind of move the game. Did you guys experience any rule changes or anything big in Fremont in 2020?
Not that I can recall. I know a couple teams. I was actually, long story short, I was supposed to go to the Spearfish Sasquatch in South Dakota, and then they canceled their season due to COVID. So we only had about 6 teams total, I want to say, 3 in each division. And so we played normal baseball, no funky rule changes or anything like that. But it was, we did play the same opponents, quite a bit since we didn't have many, to choose from. But it still ended up being a great season. We took home the championship, so couldn't have asked for anything more.
Awesome.
And then what do you guys' what does a game day look like for both of you?
Go through.
So on game day, we'll roll into the office midday. We'll kind of tighten up the script, what we need to, kind of accomplish that day. Work on some in-between inning games, make sure all of our partners and sponsors are squared away, make sure we're fulfilling our part of the deal on that end. Just kind of going through a checklist just to make sure everything, at least on my end and our end, runs smooth operationally. So I'm big into the operational side. I'll get the stadium set up after office work. We'll head out to the stadium. I'll make sure the grandstands are cleaned out, make sure the ticket booths are up, make sure everyone has what they need. Concessions are all set up. They kind of know what the night's looking like, what groups we have out there, just to kind of expect how busy we're going to be. Make sure, guests are taken care of at the gate and throughout the night. So that's kind of a little bit on my side. And then Charlie has some unique things that he does on game day as well.
Yeah, so basically I have 3 graphics that I keep on Photoshop open at all times, and it's the game day graphic, it is the starting lineup graphic, and the final score graphic. So I'm responsible for making all those. I fix the score and the team opponent's logo and the photo changes per game, of course. But yeah, I kind of just help out once I get that stuff done, and I print off the rosters for every game. But once I get that stuff done, I just kind of help out with kind of what Luke said, the script and all that stuff, and making sure everything's clean at the ballpark.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You can go, Joe, if you want.
I was just going to ask what you think that what sets you guys apart from the other teams, not just in your league, but just really any summer ball or any baseball team for that matter.
You're a big, a lot of teams, so you can go.
Well, I'd say, we really try to involve our community. And I know a lot of teams try to do that, but we really make it a priority. And obviously, yes, it is a for-profit business, but we're really about putting the fans and community first, and then that, success and attendance will come with that. So we got to make sure, we're doing everything ethically, legally, all that. But I really do think that we try more than other teams to really connect with our fans, to connect with our community. And that's kind of, we've built a nice little loyal fans in Fremont. They'll come out. We've had some fans not miss a game in the 4 years we've been around. So that kind of is a testament of, what we try to do to just kind of make the community a better place, and just help out as much as we can, wherever we can.
Yeah, and I was gonna just say, there's a lot of teams in leagues around here that have relationships kind of with the colleges in their area. Do you guys have much, if any, like relationship with Midland?
Yeah, I'd say we probably have a handful. What would you say, 5, 6 Midland guys? We got I think 3 pitchers and 3 positional players. But they put in their work. They see a bunch of D1 guys. They're from Gonzaga, Stanford, whoever else, and you see a couple of strikeouts per game on them, and you get pretty impressed. NAIA can still put in the work against the big guys, so it's fun to watch. But yeah, Midland does play their part, and it is fun to see those guys play in their home field for the Moo.
Perfect. And then what's been, I guess, over the last couple of years, I guess, you talked about community involvement, how you'd like to put community involvement first before profit. Kind of what's been your key to involving the community and kind of getting the town to support your team? I know it's a tricky question because a lot of places do it differently. But what's kind of been your guys' key to bring the community closer with what you guys do?
So I'd say actually, having guys in the community, having boots on the ground, having players going into businesses, going to nonprofits. For an example, 2 years ago when I was here, we went to the local retirement community here. And even though it was COVID, we tried to make it, as fun as possible for them. But we had the team go out there and play a little wiffle ball game in front of all the elderly patients in there. And even though they couldn't come outside and watch, they could watch from their windows. We do a lot of kids camps. We do a lot of stuff with nonprofits. So it's just showing them that we want them out to the ballpark. We want them to have a good time. We go out of our way to highlight them during the game. We make sure they're taken care of. And so it's just as much as we can pound the pavement and actually be in organizations like that, it really means a lot to them. And I know our fans really appreciate that as well. And just kind of tying everything together. You see our businesses or business partners and sponsors getting involved and donating tickets to nonprofits. So they're giving people that usually don't have the opportunity to go to games. They provide them with a nice night of family fun environment at the ballpark. And so that kind of builds year on year on each other. And, we'll work with a couple new ones every year that we haven't had the chance to. And, once they see what we're doing, they really like to come on board and really support what we're doing out here.
Perfect. And then I have one more question, if that's all right with you, Joe. Digital media question. So I know that content creation kind of rules the world as we see, but you being in a small community, how cool is it for you to kind of, you have a daily project and to kind of creating lineups and all that? How cool is that? Just to know that, your creation, your art is, super important to everybody. How cool is that? Just being in a community like that and having your stuff shown?
Yeah, no, I love every single second of it, and it's probably my favorite part of the day. Just you post something, and then maybe an hour, 2 hours later, you go check, and it's got even just like 20 likes, 30 likes just means the world because people see it in the shares on Facebook and the retweets and all that stuff. But my favorite thing this summer, we did a mic'd up video for a pitcher, Fremont's not the craziest, biggest city ever. But it got around like 2,000 views on YouTube, and it just really felt good to see all the comments and all the views, and it made me feel like truly appreciated. And you are right; it's a blessing. The content is everything nowadays, and it does get a little scary sometimes because you feel like a lot of pressure's on you. You can't misspell names in the lineup. You can't put 2 right fielders on the lineup card or something like that. So. It's tidy work, but I love every second of it.
And to go off that for a second, the video of the player he made, his parents actually drove all the way from Louisiana to come to a game, and right when they got to the ballpark, they came up to me and asked if they could talk to Charlie because they really appreciated, the time and the effort he put in. And, it's something that the player, he got to take pride in and just kind of, show what it's like during a game. And so I feel like, some of what we do around here is a pretty thankless job. So it does mean a lot when we get kind of that reception from our fans or families like that. So I thought that was at least cool that they wanted to get in contact with Charlie and that it meant so much to them. So just little interactions like that is kind of what makes us or keeps us going here.
Yeah, it's huge for us.
And then I had one last question just on the operations side more. And Luke, I think you could probably speak more on this, but it's your first year as a league in the Independence League. What was kind of the move from the Expedition League to the Independence League, and how do you think the new league is doing now?
So I think, one big change moving leagues is, we have more freedom to kind of make our own decisions. The old league was kind of, there wasn't much democracy in it. And it was kind of run like a franchisee relationship where the owner would kind of, put these procedures in place. But now, we kind of restructured the league. We have a commissioner. We have, all the owners meet multiple times a week on the phone, and they all have, equal votes. And so just more freedom to kind of tweak things and see what's working and what's not. And then kind of, correcting things. I know there's been leagues or problems around the league that, different people have had to address, but it's more controlled now. And we can easily see, what's working, what's not working, what needs to change versus, us or them, giving us a strict, rigid plan and procedures that we have to follow, even if it's not working. So yeah, I'd say just kind of the freedom and autonomy to kind of make, the right decision for each individual organization is really important to, the overall success of the league, as well as the individual success for each team, to try to, build on this league and keep adding expansion teams, which we hope to do in the next year or two as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, our kind of last operations question. I hope that I can speak for most people, but I've found myself very entertained by the Independence League, and maybe more so than a lot of other leagues. And some of the stuff that you guys do is with the small town feel and getting a minor league experience, even with the small town, is part of that. But I kind of want to talk about the on the diamond side now. You guys were 16-13 in the first half, which was, I think, third place in your division. But now you're leading the Nebraska division for the second half. What changed, and what's the new trend looking forward?
You want me to take it? Okay. Well, I feel like all season long we really haven't had any much problems with our bats. Doing a lot of work. But our starting pitching has been pretty solid, I'd say, from the start. But I don't know. It's just, I think obviously these guys didn't know each other, or majority of the guys didn't know each other coming into this. So you got to build that chemistry, as every other team has to, from the once you first get here. But they're starting to build that trust with each other. And if someone doesn't, there's a little error, they pull them over and like, hey, let's just forget about it, move on. And I don't know, it's almost like a brotherly love. They become family in just a short period of time because they spend so much time with each other, and it's honestly really cool to see it like show on the field. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Well, just to go off that a little bit too, like you said, our bats have been good. We can usually, put some runs on the board, but what's been killing us lately is just our mental errors and just throwing errors and whatnot on the field. We're just not playing as tight as we should be, with the talent we have. And so we just need to play a little tighter. But that doesn't mean, we can play loose and, not worry about making those errors, because if we play too tight, then we might be subject to make more errors. But, we just need to play and have fun. There is a little bit at stake here, everyone's still trying to continue playing, and there's opportunities, there's scouts at the games a lot of times. So I feel like a lot of the players are taking it pretty seriously, which we do appreciate that. And we just hope they get as much out of it as we do as well. Because, the whole point of this kind of summer league is so everyone can develop, coming from coaches to players to interns. It's all about being better than where you started. And so hopefully, on our side, we're growing, but hopefully on the player side as well. They're improving, learning stuff every day. Every aspect is this business. You got to be a student of the game. You gotta always be willing to learn. And so hopefully, the coaches have kind of instilled that in them as well.
And what has stood out to you about this 2022 squad the most? I know every year is different, every summer is different, but kind of what stood out to you guys mostly about this year's team?
So I go to the University of Central Missouri, which is D2, and they are a super talented baseball team. So I came from a super talented school, and I am impressed by I know I said this before, but the bats. Like, they hit the ball like crazy, it seems like. And I think probably one of the 10th, 15th game in the season, we scored 30 runs one game, which is like, it kind of looked like a football score was going on. Like, it was 30-7 or something like that. And it's like, what is going on here? But I don't know. Just like I said earlier, it's just the chemistry that they've built in such a short period of time it's truly unique. And just that short period of time to build that relationship with those guys, because at school you practice every day for hours, and you go to school with each other, like some classes together, but these guys just come for one summer and they build it up like crazy quick, and it's super cool.
And for me, what stood out, at least this year, geographically, we're kind of more diverse than we have been in the past. For example, we have probably 6 to 10 guys all from California, which is rare. At least from 2 years ago, you don't see many Cali people coming out to middle of Nebraska. But it seems like year after year we're kind of strengthening our pipelines, our talent pipelines. It's important to have the players have a good experience. That way they can word of mouth spreads through their teammates. For example, 2 years ago we had Taylor Howell from Memphis University, and now this year we have 3 or 4 Memphis guys. And so that's just part of being professional. That too is wanting players to talk about the league, wanting them to tell their teammates about what we're doing, so hopefully they can get involved. But I have seen that we are strengthening our pipelines pretty impressively, and so hopefully that momentum carries on until next year.
I think that's, for the most part, like most of our questions, but what's kind of the schedule looking forward for you guys in terms of opponents and home and away?
So we've got today is our 5th game in Dickinson in a row, and the series is currently 2-2, and the game starts in 20 minutes. So we've got a little rubber match action tonight. But let's see. So we come back tomorrow, obviously, or I think they leave tonight and they'll get back early morning tomorrow. And then we've got Hastings Sodbusters on Friday through Sunday, and that'll be home. And then we go to Hastings Tuesday through Thursday, and then we host the Prospects Friday through Sunday, and then we see the Pioneers for the first time of the year. We go there from Tuesday to Thursday, and then just some chaotic. I'll tell you these last 2 days for the Moo is absolutely insane for regular season. We go to Hastings on Friday, July, the 29th. So to Hastings for a 6:35, I believe, game. And then we come back to Fremont for a 12:05 p.m. game on Saturday. And then we head straight to Hastings for a 6:35 game on Saturday. So it's Hastings, back to Fremont the next morning, and then that day you go back to Hastings. So it's just a kind of a chaotic couple 48 hours there for both teams, really. So
yeah, you guys had a lot of issues with weather this year, like Kansas has. It's been miserable with postponements and delays. Has it been the same in Nebraska?
So I think we started off the season having like the first 3, 4, or 5 games, something like that. Basically, our whole first homestand got rained out, and so that's when you see us having to, reschedule it on certain days. And so that's where some of our double headers have came out of, is just those rescheduled games. And we just had another game last Thursday get rained out, which was unfortunate. It was our big U.S. military All-Stars game. So we were looking forward to that. But yeah, the rain, it's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, we can prepare as much as we can, but at the end of the day, if the conditions aren't right, then it just doesn't make sense to play. But there, logistically, there's a lot to think about with having teams travel and paying for buses and hotels. And so, we try our hardest to get these games in, even if that means, delaying them for a while. As long as we can get through, I think in this league, it's considered a full game if we can get 5 full innings in.
Yep.
So a lot of times we try to do that, but it's just, Mother Nature sometimes has other plans for us.
I mean, on a tight schedule too, those tight summer ball schedules where it's a 2-3 month span, and you have to, throw all those postponed games in, and you get delays, and we have playoffs coming up here in a little bit. It's just a nightmare figuring that stuff out. So especially as an assistant GM, I bet it's a nightmare sometimes. But just kind of going forward for the rest of the season, from your guys, as both of your positions that you work in, what do you want with the rest of the season left? Kind of what would you guys like to just keep going with the rest of the season? I know with digital media, it's like the different creative stuff that you put out is really, a lot of different things stand out to you during the season. But for, I guess, going forward for you guys, what would you guys like to keep continuing from this season on to seasons after this?
Yeah. Do you want to?
I mean, I definitely, our chemistry this year, it could be a little better. It's not bad by any means, but, just keeping that team camaraderie, and just keeping the momentum going until next year. We want to get another great group of guys here, no problems off the field or on the field, anything like that. That's a big part of it too. Keeping kids healthy, that's a big part as well, to keeping a strong roster together. But I mean, on my part, I just want, the rest of the season, I just want, the interns to keep growing, to keep, getting out of their comfort zone a little bit. I know I've done that, at least on my side, a lot. So I want to keep pushing everyone to, do their best. I know it's a long, grueling season, but, we're making it through it. And so I just hope, everyone can, keep the talents and skills they've learned through the summer and apply it to, their future endeavors. And that's the goal here, is to kind of move people on to, positions that fit them and that they want to thrive in as a career.
Yeah, and I'd say from a digital media standpoint, you want to do, I'm a big believer in keeping things pretty consistent, but also you want to make things as best as possible. So no shade thrown to any other team in the league, but I do, sometimes you kind of you don't want to compare, but you look at other teams, and I feel like we're in a pretty good spot right now with our media right now. But there's always room to grow, and I do think we have a lot of room to grow with trying to, more mic'd up videos, more get to like know your players. Like I just really like the connection between a player and audience, and I feel like we still have to make that deeper connection, because they know of them as baseball players, but they're really just like you and I, just regular people who just happen to play baseball. And I'm just a big believer in wanting to make that connection. So I think that's something I could definitely improve on and work on for the future. But there's endless things that you find every single day on Instagram, Twitter. You just crazy social media stuff that looks awesome that you want to bring to your own program, of course. So definitely just improving what we can, but also staying pretty consistent. So that's what I would say.
And Isaac, if you don't have any other questions, I'm kind of out of them. I don't know if you guys have anything else to plug, but I know Charlie has his Instagram account, Charlie Martin Production. Is that right?
Yes,
I see it. I see it all the time on my timeline, and I'm consistently blown away. Charlie, not only does he work with the Moo, he does a lot of work with the Central Missouri, is it baseball and women's soccer teams?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say those are my main two. I'm manager for the women's soccer team, but I just like going to the baseball games, and those are kind of my buddies playing, so I just take photos for fun and post them. So
Central Missouri always has good baseball teams every single year.
Yeah, I traveled to Cary, North Carolina last year to watch them play in the World Championships, and they made it to the final, but they fell short. I kind of got screwed over a little bit, I'd say, by some pitching. There was like a rain delay, so we had to play basically a double header on the day of the championship. So we couldn't throw ace, which really unfortunately, because they could. So it kind of came back to bite us in the butt with that doubleheader. But I mean, they knew they're a fantastic team, and Wingate, who won it all, was super nice, saying you guys were a fantastic team all year, and it was awesome to meet you guys in the championship. So yeah, UCM, they're really fun to watch. That baseball teams, yeah.
Right.
But unless I don't know if I can give you the floor to plug anything you guys want, but if not, it's been a pleasure to have you, Charlie. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, and I hope to see you guys in the playoffs. Obviously, you guys are at 7-3 right now, looking pretty good. Your Badlands and Fremont might be the candidate for Series of the Week. It's been a high quality matchup between two really good teams.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think right now I got it pulled up. We both have the same record at 23-16, and Badlands currently leads the Great Plains League, and we're kind of, I wouldn't say tied. The whole amount of games each team has played is kind of messing with that a little bit, but so we're both fighting for that number one spot. So yeah, it should be a good game tonight, and I'm excited to watch it.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, fellas. We really do appreciate you guys coming on, and I know it's an extremely busy time of the year, but good luck to you guys for the rest of the year. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Joe, Isaac.
Yeah,
Joe, Isaac, it was a fantastic time. Appreciate it. Isaac, nice to meet you. Joe, always
Nice
good to see
meet you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time for us, and we appreciate you reaching out to us.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come on.
Yes, sir. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
We'll do.
You
Thanks.
too.
Bye, guys.
See it. All right.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you to Charlie and Luke for coming on. Independence League, like I said, has been a pretty entertaining league to me. Right now, as we spoke on, the Moo are first place in their division for the second half, and the Spearfish Sasquatch lead the Great Plains at 7-5 in the other one. I mean, not much else to speak on in that league other than the Badlands Big Sticks, who are playing the Moo, first half champions in the Great Plains, and then the Western Nebraska Pioneers won the Nebraska Land Division, so those two teams are automatically seeded into the playoffs. But we can move to the other leagues that we have.
Yeah, I think the when you if we want to jump to our home state here and go to the Mid Plains League, the league that you and I are surrounded by quite a bit. Especially you're with a specific team, but I have been out with COVID lately, so it's been kind of rough catching up. But I want to hear your perspective on the recent Super Series between the first place Junction City Brigade and your Baldwin City Blues. I want to hear about everything. How'd it go? I know from this I could see scores and stats and stuff like that, but from your eyes, what'd you take away from it?
I mean, I would say it was a positive and a negative from the Blues side. I think it was cool that we could beat the biggest like kind of double-edged sword that I saw was like we could beat Junction City at home, which literally no other team has done, but then they beat us at home, which literally no other team has done. So it was kind of a clash of the Titans, truly. I think I said this to the radio guys. If the Junction City people were there as well, I would tell them it was just a pleasure all around, even if the Blues, lost the series 2-3 and at 3 games in a row to lose it. But it was high quality, entertaining baseball all around. We had a walk off. We won both of our games in extra innings. Junction City can hit the ball. That's one thing that I think, from as much as the Blues have improved from the 2021 season to the 2022 season, the home runs kind of got left last year, and we have one maybe a week, but Junction City has proven that they can hit a couple a game. I think kind of the more worrying trend, not so much losing 3 games in a row to Junction City. We lost last night to the A's too. Another really good team, but I think of those 4 games in a row that we've lost, which mind you, is also our first losing streak of the year. Any one of those 4 games is winnable, and A's are hot.
Yeah, they're really hot.
Yeah, they've won, I think, 6+ in a row, something like that. And
now they're tied with the Blues in second
Yeah,
place with an 18-10 record. So
they're threatening to take our spot, and I think we have to win out our next 4 games. And it's not, I mean, it's not how I would say, like a tough schedule, but any one of those teams are obviously really good, and it's baseball. Anybody's beatable on their day, and it'll be interesting to look forward because as a team we've always been really good on the home side, really bad on the away. Not really bad on the away, just maybe below average or not as good away. But we have 3 games away to finish the season, then 1 at home against the last place, still insanely talented Sabetha team.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the Bravos have kind of fallen off a cliff compared to the last 2 years. You look at the COVID season in 2020 where they made it all the way to the Cowden Cup championship, and then last year they fell off a little bit. But we mentioned on our first episode, it's like the Topeka Farmers and Sabetha Bravos have no returners. Topeka Farmers is a brand new team, but Sabetha didn't bring back anybody, so we had to start from scratch to see how things would work. And credit to the Farmers. The Farmers are pretty close to third place. They're right there. I think they're 10-14. I don't have the record on top of my head, but I think they're 10-14, and which is great because they were sitting in last place for nearly the whole entire summer. But all of a sudden, they're starting to get hot, and they're winning the games against the Lawrence Travelers and the Sabetha Bravos, and pulling out 2 against the Midwest A's. It's like the Farmers are really getting it together. It's going to be hard for the Bravos to kind of get into the playoffs at this point. They're going to have to win out this week and have some things go their way. But it's interesting to see kind of where the Farmers and the Bravos, where their seasons went. But yeah, you mentioned the A's. I think that Junction City as they struggled against the A's this year, but I think for the rest of the year that'll be a good matchup to watch and continue to watch. And I think Baldwin City and Junction City have a very good shot of meeting up at the end, though. But Baldwin needs to win these games this week to get that 2 seed, so maybe they will meet up. But it's been fun. It's been a crazy week, and then the All-Star games on Saturday. You got a few great games coming up this week, and then it's playoffs after that, and the race to the Cowden Cup championship trophy starts soon with all the All-Star rosters coming out today. It's starting to get close to the end of summer. So
yeah. Speaking once again from the Blues perspective, a lot of Blues players on that roster. I think we have 16 All-Star representatives, which is the most out of any team.
Yeah, it was a lot of Blues on that list. There's obviously the Blues and the Brigade are probably going to hold the majority of those rosters. The Brigade for the West and Blues for the East. There were some very confusing as well. I feel like there were some guys snubbed. I don't know if they just can't make it to the All-Star game or not, but there was a few guys on that list where I was just, I don't know how they didn't make the roster. There's a few of those guys where they're top 3 in their statistical categories, and so that was my, as the, I guess my title for the league is media director and statistics director. There's a few, because I study those stats like crazy, and I'm like, man, really, this guy didn't make the All-Star lineup. So hopefully there might be a little alternate or something like that, or I can do some persuading, because there's a few guys. I think you understand too, Joe. There's a few guys on these teams that I thought got snubbed, but
yeah.
Other than that, can't complain. I mean, the rosters look really, really good. It'll be a really fun game, especially with the home run derby on Saturday. The All-Star game should be a blast, and it's a good way to kind of relax and get loose with these guys before the playoffs, because every year the playoffs are extremely tense, super hot outside, and people are on the verge of going back to school. So it's just like it's very, very tense. So the All-Star game's always good to kind of kick back and meet some guys you never met before. And I think you're going on Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and watching that game, man.
Yes, I will be there, and we will be on this YouTube channel, Sunflower Sports Network. We will be streaming the game, so make sure you tune in. Even if you have no idea about the Mid Plains League and you're just kind of listening to this for the first time, we would love to see you watching. Always get a lot of we get a good international audience for the All-Star game. Want to take a second to thank the Sabetha fans. They always drive my numbers up, so I always appreciate them.
Good international culture in the Mid Plains League. I think the credit to Edgar Santos and the crew that have built up the Sabetha Bravos and Topeka Farmers. Because you look at the Bravos, they have an Instagram page that has 22.3 thousand Instagram followers. It's like they know what they're doing. And I think the international influence has been really, really good for the Mid Plains League. And it's good to have that perspective and to get to talk to these guys and learn their story. And one of those guys that played for the Bravos last year, Samuel Mendez, he went to Cisco College in Texas, and he's from either the DR or Puerto Rico, possibly Venezuela. I forgot which Latin country he's from, but he got a shot in the Mid Plains League. He was able to to get some tape outs, and MLB scouts were watching him at Cisco College, and he ended up getting drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers, and he made history as the oldest player to ever get drafted into the big leagues. And I think he was 27 years old when he got drafted, so that record might go on for a little while. But at 27 years old, oldest man to ever get drafted, played for the Sabetha Bravos last year, so kind of cool.
Yeah,
interesting.
And we talked about just with the media thing with Charlie and Luke, and how well they do with the small town. Fremont is a small town, but Sabetha is 10 times smaller at a population of 2,500. They manage to draw a good crowd, and obviously we talked about their social media following of 10 times the population of the city they're based in, and I think from that perspective, they are the envy of most summer ball teams.
I'd go the same way as to say about the Junction City Brigade too. The community involvement there is absurd. They have that beer garden there, which obviously you're going to get a lot of people if you have if you have beer in a baseball game. But they do fireworks on the weekends and stuff like that, which a lot of people go out to those weekend games for a summer ball game. Quite a few people show up to those weekend games. You get to see great baseball, you get to see fireworks, you get to have an adult pop, and usually they'll have specials and food specials and stuff like that. But they're not a whole lot of places better than Raythard Stadium on a summer night. I think it's they've done a fantastic job kind of building that up, and and there's some rich history there as well. Jackie Robinson and Satchel Paige played there at one point in their life, so I mean and it's a really nice ballpark too. Like Raythard Stadium's a really nice ballpark. So I think every team's trying to live up to the Junction City standard, or trying to be their own brigade, or trying to figure out how to get their communities involved, like the Fremont Moo. I think a lot of summer ball teams in the state, in the Midwest, want to do the same thing. So I think hearing from guys, that work with the Fremont Moo, I think that was really neat to get their perspective on things. So I think a lot of teams are looking to do the same thing. Summer ball has been kind of trendy. It's kind of trendy in the world. Like, there's big Twitter followings for these kind of teams, and I like the direction where everything's going. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think that summer baseball is kind of getting the love it deserves now in 2022 compared to 5-6 years ago. But
yeah, and I think we have a couple teams. I would mean probably first and foremost the Savannah Bananas for even putting summer baseball on a map. Before my brother played for a summer ball team, I didn't even know what it was, and that was 6 years ago. And he played in the Ban Johnson League in Kansas City, which we might talk about, not this episode, but their regular season's finishing up I think tomorrow, so maybe we'll talk about them later. But the Bananas are kind of, they're mixing a kind of circusy with baseball, and obviously I much prefer the baseball, but I like the banana ball on the side, and they still have the Coastal Plain League games, which are a lot of fun. They're still a really good team. They put out a good product, and some of those Twitter follows are really good. Shout out to the Carolina Disco Turkeys, the Portland Pickles. Shout out to the Baldwin City Blues.
Portland. Oh yeah, you got to slide that one in there too. The Baldwin City Blues. You got to slide that one in there.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, I was like, we have a million teams to get to, and I don't think we're gonna get much further on this episode because one guy got COVID, and the other guy's been busy with team stuff. So hopefully that'd be nice to get another one done this week and kind of cover the rest. And now that I'm about 80% healthy, I'm ready to go. But we got not just in the Mid Plains League, but just around the nation as a whole. It's like playoffs are coming because college is right around the corner. Kids are going to start moving in, and so if you don't have a Twitter, now would be the time to check up with all these teams and all these places and all these names, because it's going to be a fun couple of weeks coming up here. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's some leagues that are going to go on for a while. The MLB Draft League doesn't end until I think early September, so we still have a month of that. And playoffs aren't coming up for all the leagues, but they're at least in the next couple weeks coming up. And before we go, I just want to kind of touch on earlier in the episode we talked to Chuck Chaney about the KCLB. It's been a couple weeks since we talked to him, but he did talk a lot about the Kansas Cannons. They did win their first half of the KCLB at 14-2, and they're leading the second half at 5-1. The other team that he covers, the El Dorado Walnuts, are tied with the Wellington Heat at 4-2 for second. There hasn't really been much change from the first and second half in that league. I have found that a first and second half with that few games is not so self-defeating, but you might just go one full season with that, but still entertaining, and I think those teams are probably entertaining for the people of the mostly Wichita area. Haven't been able to follow them as much, but would like to.
Don't call the El Dorado Walnuts the El Dorado Walnuts around Chuck Chaney. He's not going to be too happy about it. As you guys, unless you fast forward through the episode, you guys learned that I made the mistake of calling the El Dorado Walnuts the El Dorado Walnuts. So if you're around Chuck Chaney, you just got to be careful, because he'll call you out on it. He'll get you. So you got to be careful. That's just helpful advice for anybody. It's El Dorado, I guess. So I will not be calling it El Dorado anymore.
Yes, I did that. I made that mistake in front of my dad, who's not even from El Dorado. He's from Manhattan.
He was offended by it
a year and a half ago, and it's stuck with me since.
I know, me too. It's gonna stick with me forever. Chuck Chaney, you got me there. So, I'm not grammatically correct all the time, and I don't speak very well. I about 3 out of 10 on English, but I won the spelling bee in second grade, so I know what I'm talking about, but apparently I don't with this El Dorado conversation. So learn my lesson there. But the El Dorado Walnuts, I'm pulling for you guys. Hope you guys do well. I'm pulling for you.
Yeah, I love the walnut brand. I think some of the beauty of summer ball and just minor league ball in general is kind of having that locality and not so polished names. Mm-hmm. some of that local flair I've always appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and I just like the way, we were talking with Fremont earlier, and when we talked with Chuck at the beginning of the episode, and, you and I know these teams that are around this area, they all have something pretty much in common. Most of them have, stuff in common that's just very small communities that just like going to watch baseball games. And I think that's what makes summer baseball special. You have the conversation about wanting to keep expanding and keep growing summer baseball and trying to make it as big as you want to be. But, when you think about it, it's like, I don't think that's what makes summer baseball special. Those small communities being tight with the baseball teams is what makes summer baseball just so traditionally awesome. I think it's great that everything's growing, but I think it's still very, very cool that communities like Fremont or El Dorado or Baldwin City and, those small communities, I just think it's super cool that they can really rally together and go just enjoy themselves, just go watch a baseball game. I think that's what makes summer baseball just so cool.
Yeah, I've always had that thought too. It's generally cheap. It's a community thing, and it puts small towns on the map on a national stage in some cases. Places like Portland or Savannah, they're not. I mean, they're pretty big cities, but Fremont, it's a city of 25,000, and most people know Omaha, but they don't know Fremont's just west of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the Topeka farmers, which we were talking about earlier. Topeka is, well, where I reside. It's not a small place at all. It's the capital of Kansas, but summer baseball just feels kind of not exclusive necessarily, but you can definitely tell that this is a small ball thing, which is super cool. I think the development of players is also extremely important. I think it's good that some of these guys are held to very restrictive modes. I think in the Mid-Plains League in particular, they're very, very careful about pitch count and, certain innings that guys can play and on an innings count, on a pitch count, what you can throw, what you can't throw, and being very restrictive. And I think that's good. I think just having a healthy development with these summer teams as well is also what makes those organizations cool because the small towns will keep you accountable. They'll know when something's up or if you're not supposed to be out there when they know you're not supposed to be out there. It's super cool to see. I know I've been rambling about this, but I just think it's really cool. I just think so. Here I am. Summer baseball is pretty cool. I like it a lot.
That's what we should just title the episode. Summer baseball is cool.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
We wanna before we leave, we want to thank our guests one more time. Charlie Zach from the Moo, and then Chuck Chaney from the Butler County Times Gazette. They're very, very accomplished in their fields, and I know this is Charlie's first year at the Moo, but from what I've seen, he's been doing a pretty good job. And I mean, Chuck's always great. So once again, we apologize for the delay. Stuff happens.
That's on me.
So I could take some of the blame, but stuff happens. We're hoping to go hopefully weekly pretty soon to finish up the season, and then we'll be back.
Maybe get random after that. Maybe we'll do maybe some football, maybe some fast food drafts. I don't know. We'll just kind of play with it from here. I don't know what the rest of your schedule looks like this week, Joe, but we'll probably pull some content here soon with the All-Star games and looking around the entire nation, just trying to get some playoff stuff put together. So looking forward to the next couple of weeks. Should be fun.
Me too. I'll ask for you, the listener, just keep listening and supporting us. Our Twitter is in the bio. We're going to start being more active on there, and especially with getting leagues and stuff recognized. We started doing a series of the week, which this past week was the Junction City Baldwin City Super Series, and I alluded to it earlier in the episode, but it's probably going to be the Badlands Big Sticks. and Fremont Moo Super Series as well. And if you guys have any recommendations on what teams to cover or what series you'd like us to talk about, shoot us a DM or at us. We'll be happy to respond and happy for you to give us more stuff to talk about.
Yep, absolutely. And then it's at Summerball Talk on Twitter. No capitals, no spaces, no underscores. It's just at Summerball Talk. And DM at, any engagement we'll take. So absolutely.
So thank you all for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that follow button on Twitter, and we hope you see you next week.